Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening: the sensex and the nifty down for the fifth straight day as stock markets remain subdued ahead of the election results. This is the longest losing streak in the last 7 months. The Reserve Bank's balance sheet grows 11% in FY24. Central Bank's income increases 17%. Expenses drop 57%, paving the way for the bumper dividend of 2 lakh crore rupees to the government. The volume of bank frauds rise nearly threefold in FY24, but the amount involved in the fraud declines 47%. Private sector banks report the maximum number of frauds in the last 3 years. The monsoon arrives in the Indian subcontinent a day earlier than expected. Parts of Kerala and northeast India see heavy showers. The Met Department issues an orange alert for 3 Kerala districts. Heatwave continues to scorch North India as temperatures near 50 degrees across most parts. Demand for electricity hits a record high of 246 gigawatts. Insurance regulator proposes a new framework for surrender value. Sources tell CNBC TV 18 the regulator may require insurers to pay higher guaranteed value if policies are voluntarily terminated. Insurance stocks slide in trade. The street battles in Rafah killing 37 people living in tents in the last 24 hours, according to Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. Israel's military says it has seized control of the entire length of Gaza's border with Egypt. 40 days after polling began, the loudspeakers will fall silent this evening. Campaign for the final phase draws to a close. 57 constituencies across 8 states will vote on the 1st of June. Results will be declared on the 4th of June. Space startup agnikul-cosmos makes history, launches the world's first rocket with a single-piece 3D printed engine. Co-founder Srinath Ravichandran tells CNBC TV 18 an orbital flight will happen in the next 6 to 9 months. Also on the show, luxury apartments account for 11% of overall home sales in the first 3 months of 2024. The investor community and NRIs show huge interest, and returns on some properties go up to 30% in a couple of years. Analysts expect a 5 to 10% demand growth by year end. As always, let's start with the market action. The sensex and the nifty continue to declining for the 5th straight trading session, marking the longest losing streak that we've seen for our markets in the last 7 months. That's the picture. 216 points lower on the nifty. The sensex dropped by 600 points. The nifty bank, though, on the back of the S&P ratings upgrade, came in strong, 180 points higher there. The nifty mid-cap index down by almost 700 points, so continues to be volatile ahead of the big results day. Prashant is standing by with the day's market wrap. We still have another trading day before we get into the exit polls, and then, of course, D-Day on the 4th of June. Prashant, what's sentiment looking like?
A tough day once again, with the market building in more caution as we get closer and closer to the exit polls over the weekend, and then, of course, the results next Tuesday. So, I mean, the Nifty losing about 200 points, actually more than 200 points at one stage, and now, of course, close to an important near-term support level, which is the 20-day moving average. We've not sort of seen these levels for the last few weeks now. And we are back there once again. So it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of days if this becomes a bit of a pivot around which the market continues to trade till we get the results. Nifty Bank also, of course, under pressure, but lesser so, ending higher by about 0.4% or so off the day's highest level. And, of course, there was that tailwind from S&P, which was helping. The banks, and I'll get to specific stocks in a bit. Mid-caps and small-caps, no such luck. And this is more a function of people kind of staying away, and maybe a little bit of profit booking as well, where people have made a lot of money. As I said, the underlying theme is building a bit of caution. Indices down about 1.5 to 1.75%. Large caps which lost. Tata Steel was down. Results came through. Tech Mahindra, Power Grid, Titan was down sharply. Wipro, Shriram Finance were some of the others. It's all banks if you want to see what did well on the Nifty. ICICI, Axis, SBI, HDFC Bank and Kotak Bank. Long list of losers today with volumes. IRB slam dunk 10%. Cummins India was down. K Fintech, Alchem Laboratories, GMR Infrastructure, Hindustan Copper, Marksons, Hindustan Zinc, Ahluwalia Contractors, Genus Power, and something like a Novama lost as well. A few on the upside, Imami, KNR Construction, Linde India, and there was a Exicom which lost yesterday, which was back up today as well. I mean, it was not as if there was not stuff up with volumes. There was, but it's just that market breadth and overall the sentiment was down and a little out. So, caution continuing to build as we head into those results. But I would still kind of go out and say that is it just really pre-positioning for a particular kind of an outcome that I think would be taking it a bit too far. Back to you.
Well, many thanks, Prashant, for joining us. That's the market update for you for the day. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman upbeat about the BJP victory come the 4th of June. Speaking to News 18, the Finance Minister said there will be a solid bull market after the election outcome. She termed S&P upgrading its outlook on India as a good omen. Take a look.
Undoubtedly, it's a big good omen, and big good omen for Prime Minister, for the country, for the economy. The consistent emphasis of the Prime Minister that we should spend money in building infrastructure, putting more money for that, and ensuring quality expenditure happens. You've given money and you don't care how it is getting completed. So it has so many different governance message. And these are not my explanations. S&P themselves have said as a justification to why they have changed the grade, and also have shown that in the next 24 months, every chance of us being given a better grade. Probability of, volatility is very high when there is no single majority government in place. Indian people have been in the last 2 elections giving that single majority for Prime Minister Modi, and as a result, a stable government has been in place, which gives predictable policies, predictable and consistent tax framework. All these matter to the stock markets. So if there is going to be, and there will be, that's my confidence, a good result coming for BJP on the 4th, it indicates stability, people standing by a good majority infused government, and that will mean good message for the stock market, and therefore it can really go up. It will be a solid bull's market then.
Well, that is the Finance Minister. The Reserve Bank of India has released its annual report for FY24, showing a balance sheet growth of 11%. The RBI sees its income grow 17% and expenses fall 57%. This has paved the way for that bumper dividend of 2.1 lakh crore rupees to the government from the Reserve Bank. The annual report also shows a rise in the volume of bank frauds, but a drop in the amount of money involved in the frauds. Ritu standing by with the highlights of the RBI's annual report. Ritu.
Well, first on that bumper surplus coming in from RBI, and we now know how it was able to transfer this bonanza from its balance sheet. Now, surplus is essentially the total income minus the total expenditure. And for FY24, RBI saw a steep 56.3% fall in its expenditures, along with a 17% increase in income. The income rose on the back of a huge 129% increase in interest earned on foreign deposits and a near 50% jump in the interest that it earned on foreign securities. Expenditure, on the other hand, fell largely because of that 67% fall in provisions because of lower provisions on forex assets, leaving RBI with a neat 2.1 trillion rupee surplus. Now, the RBI annual report also points to a brightening outlook for the economy on the back of solid investment growth, and it expects a 7% GDP growth for FY25. It points out that inflationary pressures are abating, but food prices remain vulnerable to shocks, warning of risks to both growth and inflation from geopolitical tensions, fragmentation, financial market volatility, erratic weather developments, and so on. Now, among other interesting findings from the annual report, RBI said bank frauds fell nearly by half in value terms, but tripled when it comes to volumes in FY24. More than 36,000 frauds were reported in the year, involving almost 14,000 crore rupees. Private banks reported the most number of frauds in the last 3 years, while public banks contributed to the maximum fraud amount. The highest number of frauds was seen in digital payments, where more than 80% of the frauds came from the cards and internet banking. But that is not to say all of these frauds occurred in FY24 itself, with RBI pointing to the fact that a significant time lag exists between the date of occurrence of a fraud and its detection.
All right, Ritu, many thanks. In fact, staying with the Reserve Bank's government bond buyback offer has seen a tepid response once again. The government had offered to buy back bonds worth 40,000 crores, of which it bought bonds worth only over 5,000 crores. Buybacks are one way for the government to reduce its liabilities and strengthen its fiscal position by repurchasing its own outstanding bonds from the market before they mature. There's excess liquidity with the government when spending is constrained due to elections. This is the fourth round of buybacks by the RBI this month. The last three buybacks also saw poor response. The first buyback of 40,000 crores on the 9th of May saw a buyback of only 10,500 crores. The second round for 60,000 crores saw a buyback of only 2,000 crores. And the third round of another 60,000 crores saw a buyback of only 5,260 crores, so along expected lines. Shares of Edelweiss Financial Services tanking over 10% in trade. This after the Reserve Bank imposed business restrictions on two Edelweiss Group entities. The company has responded to the Reserve Bank's action by saying that it will take necessary remedial steps immediately, adding that the RBI's action will not have any material impact on the company's resolution and recovery efforts. The southwest monsoon arriving a day earlier in Kerala ahead of the Met Department's forecast. Several districts in Kerala have seen heavy rainfall. The Met has issued an orange alert in 3 districts. In what is a rare phenomena, the monsoon arrived in the northeast of India as well. Meghalaya's Cherrapunji has seen heavy rains, waterlogging and gusty winds. Significant rainfall being recorded in Assam, Silchar and Haflong. While the rains have brought some respite in Kerala, North India continues to sizzle with the temperatures hovering near the 50 degrees Celsius mark. The Met Department has clarified, though, that the reports of record-breaking temperature of over 52 degrees Celsius recorded in Delhi's Mungeshpuri yesterday have been a sensor error, adding that the maximum temperatures across Delhi NCR range between 45 and 49 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the government is monitoring the impact of the heat wave on vegetable crops. Abhimanyu standing by with more. Abhimanyu, cause for concern?
Government sources have indicated that the heat wave has impacted the yield of green leafy vegetables. However, rains in the eastern part of India may increase cultivation, particularly of pulses. The government is expecting better price realization for farmers of pulses in several states like Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka. The government has also indicated that the mandis currently are sluggish due to lack of a festive season as well as lack of conspicuous consumption and lesser people coming out due to the heat waves. However, with IMD forecasting a good monsoon this year, tur and urad prices are expected to cool down with better availability. That's the hope which has been expressed by the government so far. Even as a regular examination of all stock limits disclosures is being undertaken by the government to ensure that there's no hoarding and ample supply is maintained in the market to maintain price stability. Now, heat waves in northwestern India are expected to reduce from today with the onset of western disturbances and thunderstorms, whereas the onset of monsoon in Delhi is expected to be around the 29th of June, and an above normal monsoon is expected for the
Abhimanyu, many thanks for joining us. And as Abhimanyu was pointing out, with temperatures soaring across the country, the peak power demand has hit a new high as more people are turning on air conditioning and leaving it on. India recorded a peak power demand of 246 gigawatts on Wednesday, beating the previous high of 242 gigawatts recorded in September of 2023. Several states, including UP, Maharashtra and Gujarat, have recorded their highest power demand. Delhi has been breaking new records every day for the last fortnight amid severe heat wave conditions. Peak demand was at 8 gigawatts yesterday. Shares of Hero FinCorp will hit Dalal Street soon. The Hero MotoCorp subsidiary has given a nod to its 4,000 crore rupee IPO. The offer will comprise a fresh equity issue and an offer for sale by existing shareholders. The face value of shares will be 10 rupees each. Hero Motor owns 41% stake in Hero FinCorp. Ahead of the IPO, Hero FinCorp has written off the bad loans worth 1,200 crore rupees. AWFIS Space Solutions shares listed with strong gains on the bourses, rising 13% over its issue price at 383 rupees. The 598 crore rupee issue price received stellar investor response as the issue was subscribed more than 100 times. And shares of RR Kabul jumping in early trade after 56 lakh shares representing 5% equity changed hands in a block deal. We've learned that US-based firm TPG Asia is the likely seller. The floor price of 1,700 rupees a share was at a discount of 1.1% to yesterday's closing price. The overall offer size is set to be 957 crore rupees. Staying with block deals, and there's plenty of them, shares of KFin Technology slumped in trade after nearly 6% equity exchanged hands at 720 rupees a share. This is about a 3% lower than the stock's closing price on Wednesday. The official buyers and sellers are not known yet. However, sources say global private equity firm General Atlantic Singapore Fund is likely to be the seller. The Enforcement Directorate has seized properties worth 290 crore rupees belonging to an amusement and recreation services company as part of a money laundering probe. Now, this includes an unsold commercial space in Noida's Great India Place Mall and a commercial space in Rohini. As per the probe agency, International Amusement collected about 400 crore rupees from 1,500 investors for allotment of shops in Gurugram. However, the company allegedly failed to deliver the project and siphoned off investor money for personal gains. The Delhi High Court has granted initial relief to Elon Musk Tesla in a trademark dispute with Gurugram-based Tesla Power. The court has said that the Indian company will not make, sell or market electric vehicles. Tesla Power also informed the court that all of its vendors have been instructed to remove Tesla Power from the e-scooter. It added that the sale of e-scooters was only a marketing tie-up with another manufacturer. The court will hear the matter on the 3rd of July. We are heading into a break, but up next, space startup agnikul-cosmos makes history, launches the world's first rocket with a single-piece 3D printed engine. That and more when we return. International news. Street battles rage in Rafah, killing 37 people living in tents in the last 24 hours, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. Israel's military has said it has seized control of the entire length of Gaza's border with Egypt. South African voters went to polls yesterday in what is being called a crucial election for the African National Congress. Partial results are expected over the next 3 days, with final results likely on Sunday. Early results point to the African National Congress falling below the 50% majority mark for the first time in over 3 decades. Back home, the insurance regulators propose a new framework for surrender value. Sources tell CNBC TV 18 that the regulator may require insurers to pay higher guaranteed value if policies are voluntarily terminated. Insurance stocks declined in trade today. There are also some major changes in the health insurance space that are in the interest of policyholders, from a wide range of choices to no-claim bonus and 100% cashless settlement of hospital bills within 3 hours. Yash joins us now to take us through what this means for customers. Yash, some significant changes coming in there for the insurance space via the regulator. Take us through the impact and the implications.
Well, that's correct, Shireen. So, of course, all these changes which have been, spelled out by the regulator are being spelled out with one purpose, that is to serve the policyholder better. It, of course, demands for greater operational efficiency from health insurance and general insurance companies. I'll go through all the important ones one by one. To start with, the regulator said that a wider choice has to be provided in terms of products of health insurance to all ages, regions, occupational categories, medical conditions and treatments. The word ages is important here because health insurance so far had a cap of 65 years. Now that has been removed. So, of course, a wider customer pool to cater to. Second thing, a customer information sheet should be provided by the insurer along with every policy document. CIS, or customer information sheet, explains the basic features of every insurance policy. Third one, policyholders with multiple health insurance policies will be allowed to choose which policy they want to claim for a particular admission. Primary insurer, which means the policy chosen for claim, will have to coordinate and facilitate settlement of balance amount from the other insurers and their policies. Next one, in case of no claims, insurers will have to reward policyholders through no-claim bonus, which now will be allowed to be given in two forms. One is increase of sum assured, and the second one is discounting of the premium amount. Next one, policyholder will get a refund of premium or proportionate premium for the unexpired period of the policy. Next one, the regulators asked insurance companies to strive towards facilitation of 100% cashless claims settlement in a time-bound manner. Now, as far as insurance companies and settlement of cashless claims are concerned, the regulator said that the insurers will have to decide on claim authorization request within 3 hours of the approval from the hospital.
All right, Yash, a plethora of changes there coming in for the insurance space, and we're not done with the insurance sector just yet. Insurers have approached the GST Council seeking lower tax rates on insurance products. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that companies have proposed a lower tax rate on life insurance products from 18% to 12%. Timsy standing by with more. Timsy, what are the demands being made?
Well, that's right. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the insurance companies have approached GST Council seeking a lower GST on insurance products. The companies have sought a cut in GST on life insurance products from 18% to 12%. They say that the government needs to intervene urgently as high GST rates are pushing people out of life insurance and they're opting for other products. Insurance companies have asked GST Council to lower the rate on life insurance first and then later on consider the same request for health insurance. Also, the companies have sought clarity from the GST Council on applicability of GST on co-insurance. The companies have sought zero GST to be precise if insurance companies share burden of the insurance product that they have sold to a taxpayer via subcontracting or outsourcing the burden to another insurance companies. GST Council, what we learn, is likely to consider this request only once the new government assumes office. And meanwhile, CNBC TV 18 had sent these queries to Finance Ministry and we are awaiting responses as to whether the government is considering the request sent by the insurance companies on GST cuts. So let's see whether the council looks into the issue that has been flagged by the insurance companies and whether insurance holders, people like you and me, are soon likely to get this GST cut or not. Back to you.
All right. Thanks, Timsy, for joining us. Well, before we wrap, space startup agnikul-cosmos has made history, launching the world's first rocket with a single-piece 3D printed engine. Co-founder Srinath Ravichandran tells CNBC TV 18 that an orbital flight will happen, likely in the next 6 to 9 months.
I think a couple of very interesting breakthroughs here. First thing, of course, is launching from our own private launch pad. This means a lot from two aspects. One is from the policy and framework standpoint. There's so much clarity in space policy today compared to how it was when we started, wherein nothing was put in set in stone. And to the point where now we're able to actually have our own launch pad, which is synced completely with ISRO's other control systems and so on, and we're able to get a launch done. In the long run, this means we can be a lot more independent.
In the last 2-3 years, we have really seen tremendous effort that is being put in by the young startups and also the older companies that are engaged in this space in various aspects. And what I am most happy to see in case of Agnikul and in many other startups that I would name is that they're not just taking what ISRO has done and replicating it. They are moving the technology forward.
And catch that conversation with Srinath Ravichandran of agnikul-cosmos and Pavan Goenka of In Space at 6:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on a special edition of Young Turks. That's coming up for you. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. But before we go, a quick note. A daily wrap of the top 10 headlines will hit your inbox every day before you call it a night. CNBC TV 18's daily newsletter, Top 10 at 10 on LinkedIn, featuring the top 10 stories on markets, corporate updates, economic insights and financial highlights. So subscribe now and get the CNBC TV 18 edge. The news will continue right after this short break. Stay tuned.